at some expressions of pride, some forms of pride. Number one, peer pride. Peer pride, trying to keep up appearances. Peer pride. Peer pride is a form of pride that is rooted in comparison, competition, and the pressure to impress or outdo your equals, your mates. I come again. Peer pride is a form of pride that is rooted in comparison, competition, and the pressure to outdo your equals, to impress. You want to always impress your friends, your colleagues, your church member, your co-church member, your departmental member, your social cycle. It is a pride that fuels a desire to always appear successful, appear wealthy, but you know that you are not. Number one form of this kind of pride, or this kind of peer pride, is always borrowing money to look good. Borrow money from Ope, Pampe. We have received some calls. I had a case I dealt with. I got a call that this person, somebody I know, and I knew the person, so I had to call. What's happening? He has borrowed. But by the time we found out, one of the reasons he borrowed was to buy the latest iPhone. I'm serious. Peer pressure. Peer pressure is real. That's the truth. But if you don't tell yourself the truth, you end up living that kind of life. You borrowed to buy the latest iPhone. They're calling. There are guys who borrow airtime from MTN because they need to keep up with long calls to impress their babe. You know yourself. They won't get to a time that, MTN will beep you on your borrowed airtime. Then you cut the call. You not call the girl back. You borrow again. You not tell the girl that, you know what, sorry, it was just network. You borrow. There are people who come out in a church to pledge what they will not have anytime soon. It was not faith. It was pressure. So that the person that they are liking as in church will know that they have. But they've been calling you since you did not respond. There are people who write anonymous when they pledge, not because they want to be humble. But when they were asking for you to donate, you raised your hand, wrote anonymous so that you won't be rich, so that the person who is sitting beside you will know that you have money. Pride. Peer pressure. Peer pride. You buy the latest designer bags, but you do not know what God has designed for you. Peer pressure. Latest bag. I met somebody came to the office for counseling one of these Tuesdays. And I started talking with her. She talked about finance. Her finance is low. Is this, is that. She's even having debt. And I'm like, what do you use your money for? Young lady, very beautiful. I said, ask her. We got talking. I said, how much is this your hair? She said, I can't say. She bent her head down. I'm like, talk now, let me know. She's like, actually like 1 million. I'm serious. I asked her, who are you impressing? Because the truth is that if I didn't ask her the price, I wouldn't know how much. So who are you impressing? She uses money to buy things for her skin because it's skin maintenance. Every month, 350,000 goes. She's like, first lady now, look at you now, you're glowing. I know you're maintaining your skin. So when she looked at me, she was talking. I'm like, I said, how much do you think I use? In years, like consistently. My cream is not even up to 5,000. And I'm not saying if you use up to, that's bad. But if you have the finance, and if you don't have other priorities, because I have to say if you don't have other priorities, because the finance is not the challenge, but there are other things that are more important. And I told her, like, she screamed. She said, it's a lie. But the question is, who will ask you when you snap? When you snap and post picture, who's asking you how much you are using? It's just pressure. It's just all pride. Just that when somebody asks you how much, you can say, It's just a thing with, that thing of you want to belong. Someone asks you, oh, how much are you using to, like, oh, 250. And many times, this kind of people, you don't even ask them, they open their mouth to talk. You don't even ask them a question. But the words just flow. Oh, I'm using this. You've not asked any question. There was a guy that was asking me out, when I was single. We went out, we hung out. And I've not even asked him where he was working. He started giving me his history pass, his past presents. He was talking, said, you know what? I will own this and this. I will own this. I will have these companies. I am this so and so person working in this company. I'm one of the directors. He was just talking. I said, this one is a red flag, this character. Watch out for people that you haven't even asked anything. They keep on telling, they bring everything to your table, what they have. And if you check it, they don't have. You know that this one is a proud person. Praise God. Buying a car, not because you need it. You bought a car, you parked it in your house. You can't even buy fuel. So why do you need a car? So these are the things you must check. Luke 16, verse 15, NKJV. It says, and he said to them, you are those who justify yourselves before men, but God knows your heart. For what is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. You are those who justify yourselves before men, but God knows your hearts. For what is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. So watch out for what you really esteem. Watch out for what you bring out there, your accomplishments, your comparison, your competition. Watch out for it because it is an abomination in the sight of God. Constantly talking about your wins, your achievements. When you keep on talking about it a whole lot, it's not a thing with gratitude, It's just to show off. You post on social media about the things you have done over and over and over again. It's not because you are grateful to God. You have not done Thanksgiving. You can't even remember the last time. But just to show off. For what is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. Proverbs 27 verse 2. Proverbs 27 verse 2. Let another man praise you and not your worth, your own mouth. A stranger and not your worth, your own lips. When you try to compete, is a symptom of pride. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 12. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 12. For we dare not class ourselves or compare ourselves with those who commend themselves. But they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise. Yes, you can look at someone that's succeeding and you admire the person, right? You can. It's okay to do that. But when you begin to compete in your mind, you want to do everything you can to exceed the person. It may not even be your niche. It may not be something that God has given to you, but you are doing everything. You are comparing. You want to do this, you want to do that. Because you see them walking in that light. Watch out for those kind of signs. When you are thinking about it, it starts first with a thought before it becomes a visible expression. So when you are thinking on it, that is a time you should consciously watch it. For we dare not class ourselves or compare ourselves with those who commend themselves. Number 2 form of pride, intellectual pride. Intellectual pride. This is when someone trusts excessively in their own reason or knowledge. This is when someone trusts excessively in their own reasoning or knowledge. Intellectual pride. 1 Corinthians 8 verse 2, NIV. Let's look at it. 1 Corinthians 8 verse 2, NIV. Look at this scripture. Those who think they know something do not yet know as they ought to know. Listen, when you position yourself as someone who knows too much, you will never know enough. there will never be more about you. Those who think they know something do not yet know as they ought to know. Never come to a level where you feel you know too much, you have too much sense. God cannot lead you. A sheep doesn't know, that's why God leads. My sheep will hear me. The Lord is my shepherd. So it takes a sheep to be led by a shepherd. But when you know too much, you have your direction, you have too much sense. Sheep are senseless. That's one of their characteristics. They don't have a direction. They want to be led. They always have, you see the shepherd holding the rod, following, move here, move here, move here. But when you come with the position of, you know too much, there's no much thing that you need to know again. There's no much knowledge you need to acquire. 1 Corinthians 8 verse 1 to 3, Message translation. Let's look at this very interesting scripture. 1 Corinthians 8 verse 1 to 3. The questions keeps coming up regarding meat that's been offered up to an idol. Should you attend meals where such meat is served or not? We sometimes tend to think we know all we need to know to answer these kind of questions. Verse 2. But sometimes our humble hearts can help us more than our proud minds. Now, this is not a visible expression. This is a thought, isn't it? So it's possible that you can position yourself that you can be saying yes, ma, yes, sir, when somebody's correcting, but in your hearts, you're not taking anything. It is humble. Do you see it? Humble heart, proud mind. So it's possible to act like you are hearing. That's why you see yourself, the possibilities of repeating the same mistake is there. Because you cannot say, yes, ma, yes, sir. Yes, I heard you. True. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. But you didn't hear one thing. In your heart, because God has sees our hearts. In your heart, you say, I beg you, finish up, round off fast. I want to go. On your heart, you can say, I beg you, which revelation is this one? What do you know? You can be arguing in your hearts, but not arguing outwardly. We never really know enough until we recognize that God alone knows it all. We never really know. Sometimes our humble hearts can help us more than our proud minds. We never really know enough until we recognize. So if you don't recognize that God is all-knowing, you cannot draw knowledge from Him. It's until we recognize. So you can say God is all-knowing, but if you don't recognize is to sit, be calm, and draw. You never really know enough until you recognize that God alone is enough. Proverbs 3 verse 7, TPT. Proverbs 3 verse 7, TPT. Don't think for a moment. Proverbs 3 verse 7, TPT. Don't think for a moment that you know it all. Don't think for a moment. For wisdom comes when you adore Him with undivided devotion and avoid everything that is wrong. So, in other words, what this means is that when your heart is divided, you cannot get anything. For wisdom comes when you adore Him with undivided. So, it is possible to be in church now and teaching is going on. Half of your heart is here. The other half is somewhere. Is either on a crush or the food you want to cook later or something, but your heart is not here. It's undivided devotion and avoid everything that is wrong. That is when wisdom comes. Wisdom stays. Wisdom stays with undivided devotion. In NIV, it's put like this: do not be wise in your own eyes. Proverbs 3 verse 5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. The person who is intellectually proud leans on his own understanding. When you are proud, you are too intelligent. You lean on your understanding. You lean on what you know. You lean on your sense, your first class, second class, whatever be your degree. You lean on it, so you do not go back to God. That is why I would say the person who is prayerless is a person that is proud. What can God give me? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So when you lean on your understanding, it shows a sign of an intellectual, proud person. Let's look at this interesting story. Matthew 13, verse 54 to 57. NIV. Matthew 13, verse 54 to 57. This is the story of Jesus in his hometown. He came to his hometown. He began teaching the people in their synagogue, and they were amazed. Where did this man get his wisdom and these miraculous powers? They began to ask. 55. Is this not the carpenter's son? Ha! We grew with this man. We know him. We know his parents. Is this not the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? I know his family, rich house. Aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? 56. Aren't all his sisters with us? Where then did this man get all these things? 57. And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor, except in his own town and his own home. 58. And he did few miracles because of their lack of it. Let me tell you, many times the reason for your unbelief is because you have too much sense. Because you have too much knowledge. Because you have too much knowledge. What did they want to receive from Jesus? When someone that they know, their brain could not process it. Somebody that I know, rich house. Which miracle does he want to give me? Carpenter's son here, that he used to be with his father nailing table and chair. What does he want to give me? They couldn't get the miracles from Jesus because of their lack of unbelief. Many times when you don't draw, you don't receive, it's because of too much familiarity with what you know that you are not ready to know more. They thought they knew better. They judged Jesus but based on what they already knew. Not the carpenter's son. They could not reconcile their preconceived knowledge about Jesus. They couldn't. Intellectual pride will always say, I already know everything I need to know about this person. What else? What other truth? That's intellectual pride. They were evaluating Jesus through what they knew. His family background, occupation, social standing. So what they want to draw from him. Your unbelief is your too much belief in what you know. Your unbelief is your too much belief on what you already know. So you can't draw. When you come from prayer meetings, come from miracle meetings, you are processing in your head when they say, do this. Open your mouth, make this declaration. How will this thing be? I beg you, it doesn't work. Somebody came to my office, I think a few days ago. She was sharing with me. She said it got to a point where she was going through a whole lot, and then she came, crying, sharing a lot of things with me. And she said something. She said somebody told her to come for the meeting, refresh, come for a prayer meeting. Somebody started to watch a particular, prayer meeting that goes on every morning. Most of us already know what I'm talking about. And she just said, I beg you, what are they preaching? She was telling me, she was being honest, she was vulnerable. That they preach, isn't know what she already knows, what revelation. I beg you, nothing she wants to take again. Nothing new. She even went as far as analyzing that the person is doing it for money. The person is doing it for this, the person is doing it to catch. When you are used to a lot of things, you have become too analytical. There's nothing revelational to you anymore. There's nothing. Intellectual knowledge. Intellectual pride. When you have gotten so used to what you know. There are people that are too intelligent, very intelligent, too naturally intelligent that what do you want to tell them? What do you want to tell them about God? I was in the US for refresh, and then somebody came to my office, and she was battling with depression. She flew in for the program. And she was sharing with me, she said she graduated, top class in one of the best universities in the US. She's not Nigerian. She did this, she did that. She mentioned all her records. About, she was not talking. She said that this is why she's coming back to church, because she has seen that after everything, nothing else works. With everything, she has paid heavily She was battling with so much depression. She paid heavily from one therapy to another. Do you know the funny thing? Before she got there, somebody told her, invited her to church. She said, what do they want to teach in church that she doesn't know? She can pay her medical stuff. She can do a whole lot. She flew in, all the way. She did 2 flights to come for Refresh USA. She can do this. She was one of the partners. So what do you want to tell her? But after everything, she knew that there was something more. When you understand that it is not of your intelligence, but it's of Him that you are standing, you will draw more. Let's look at this another very interesting story. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 27 to 31, TPT. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 27 to 31, TPT. But God chose those whom the world considers what? Foolish. To shame those who think what? They are wise. God chose the puny and powerless to shame the what? The high and mighty. The person you never think God will use because you think you are too intelligent is the person you see that God is using. 28. He chose the lowly, the humble, the laughable in the world's eyes. Nobodies. So that he will shame what? The somebodies. People that have class, that don't know that their class is as a result of God. He will shame. The person you look down on, God is lifting up. The person that you can't strike conversation with, you look at the person, you call the person weak person, feeble, is the person that God is looking at. You know the story of David? When Samuel came, Jesse didn't even remember whether he had a son. Because why? Eli looked like it. He had the look of the next king. The second looked like it, had the look of the next king. You know how we judge things? This person looks like who can occupy the position. But Samuel, having counted all the 7 sons, is there not a son in the house of Jesse? Maybe that's when Jesse's heart remembered, oh, there is a David at the backside tending sheep. He chose the lowly, the laughable in the world's eyes, nobodies, so that he would shame the somebodies. For he chose what is regarded as insignificant, not to supersede what is regarded as prominent. I'm not the right person that God should use. I'm not qualified in any way.